our 20-minute, I would call it maybe a type of a cool down when we're in class. So we did 20-minute warm-up, yoga for the back, and then we moved for 20 minutes. And then this is going to be just kind of an end of class type of movement. But if you take this on its own, that should be fine as well for your back. So let's continue to stay in our child's pose, or just let's start out in our child's pose. So your big toes touch, your knees can be spread wide, and remember, if it feels real comfortable to have a blanket underneath, you can choose to put a blanket behind your knees. Let's take our arms out in front of us for extended child's pose. Maybe your forehead meets the floor, maybe not, that's okay. And come into our breath, feeling your ribcage expand side to side, top to bottom. Give yourself 3 more deep breaths. And maybe with each breath, your hips start to release a little bit deeper towards your heels. Find a little relief in your back. Feeling the expansion in the ribs. So as you take your next inhale, let's slide ourselves forward back to a kneeling plank. So let's spread our fingers as wide as we can. The head is in line with your tailbone. So I want you to not look at the floor. I want you to look just in front of your mat and be on the floor, but not at your fingers. Hold here, pull the abdominals in and up. Always the option to come back to your full plank. And then you're going to slide back to a child's pose. Inhale forward to your kneeling plank, or lift this up to a full plank. Drop knees, slide back to a child's pose. Give yourself 2 more. Last one. And then round yourself up onto your shins in tall kneeling. Let's start with the right side. So slide your right fingertips towards your right knee. Inhale back to center. Exhale, slide your left fingertips down towards your left knee and back to center. So if you're just moving today with this 20 minutes, just waking up our side body, or if you're just adding on, continuing to wake up that side body and finding length. Maybe each time you release, get a little bit closer to your knee. As I tend to be pretty stiff, it takes me a while to get down a little bit deeper. Find one more on your right and your left sides. Come back to center. And then shift your hips back to your heels. Slide back to a child's pose. And then on your next inhale, shift back to the kneeling plank. And let's melt all the way to our bellies. So let's take our arms alongside our hips. Palms face the floor, chin or forehead to the mat. This is our locust pose in yoga. So let's peel our chest off the mat. I want you to lengthen the spine, not crimp into that low back. Lengthen the crown of your head forward, lifting arms. Pull the abdominals up towards your spine to support the low back, and then lift your legs off the mat. Breathe here, 3 deep breaths. And release, left cheek rests. So before we move into the next one, I want you to be mindful, if this hurts your low back at all, really pull the belly up nice and strong towards the spine. Another option here, for me, sometimes I have to pull my tailbone down towards the floor a little bit because I tend to be a little bit kind of sway back in my low back. So I really have to support the low back with my abdominals as they pull in. Peeling chest off the mat, lift the arms, lift both legs. Again, so keep pulling the belly up nice and strong. Pull maybe the tailbone towards the floor. 3 more breaths. And release, right cheek rests on the mat. So we want to get the nice strength in our back muscles. If you're a walker, you're just moving in one plane and that's forward. Okay, so we want to get our body to move in all planes, side to side, front to back, and then we want to twist. So the beauty of our yoga practice is we move through all planes of motion. So let's find this one more time. Peel your chest off the mat, lift the arms, lift your thighs, pull the belly in up towards the spine, and maybe pulling that tailbone towards the floor. Deep breath. And you can keep lifting up without compromising the low back. So think about lengthening the spine as you lift, and then release. Opposite cheek rests on the mat. 2 more breaths. Okay, let's come to our forearms in our Sphinx pose. So your fingers are spread wide, your elbows are under your shoulders. And I want you to pull the elbows towards your hip bones, softening the shoulders away from your ears, and pulling the abdominals up towards your spine. I want you to think of like a spine sandwich. You're pulling the front of your belly to the back side of your body, your torso, nice and strong. Strengthening your shoulders, the upper body, the back. 3 more breaths. And lower yourself back down. Let's take our right arm shoulder height. I'm going to switch it. Left arm shoulder height, right hand alongside your ribs, and I want you to roll onto your left side. So just stretching out the pecs on your front side so your legs can be stacked. Maybe it's more comfortable for one leg to be behind the other leg, so your choice. Keep deep in the breath. And you're going to roll yourself back as much as you can, so it all depends on your the tightness of your chest. Always want to make sure we never overdo it. We never feel any pinching or uncomfortable pulling. That is our body's signal to say, okay, that's it. So come out of the pose. And let's bring ourselves back. Now right arm shoulder height, left elbow bent, hand alongside your ribs, and then roll yourself onto the right side. Again, stacking the legs or taking the one foot behind the other. And let's roll ourselves back onto our bellies. And then let's take our hands alongside your ribs. This is our chaturanga arms. Spread their fingers wide. Pull the elbows in towards each other. Pull your palms towards your toes. Lift and lengthen your chest. And hold here. A little bit deeper. A little bit more difficult. A lot more work on the upper back than in our Sphinx pose. So that kind of that next level. 2 more breaths. And release back down. And let's push yourselves to a child's pose. And let's swing our legs in front of us. Grab behind one thigh and slowly roll yourself all the way to the mat. Let's drop both feet to the floor. Sit bone distance apart, your butt bones. And we're going to move into a bridge. This time we're going to hold our bridge. And we're going to lift ourselves up off the mat, your hips. So a couple options here. You can lift your shoulder blades up off the mat for, pretty high bridge. But I don't want you to compromise the low back. So if you feel pressure in your low back, for me this is always a little bit high because I have pretty tight hip flexors. So I want to drop my shoulder blades to the mat so that I can lengthen the low back by pulling that tailbone forward. It's a slight little pelvic tilt in a sense so that my pelvis becomes even, hip bones and my pubic bone for a, let's call it, for sake of a better word, neutral pelvis. Deepen your breath. Two more deep breaths. I'm a huge fan of bridge pose, helping to support, strengthen your glutes, strengthen the hamstrings to support the back. If you've ever been told your glutes don't fire, which I've been told, after I herniated my 3 discs in my low back. So I always had to work super hard on getting my glutes to fire. So I'm always a big fan of our bridge pose. All right, this is nice and long. Inhale, and then let's exhale, lower yourself back to the mat. Let's bring ourselves to a butterfly pose. Soles of your feet touch, your knees are wide. So I want to make this a little bit more of a little work and then a release as well. So I want you to keep the soles of your feet touching, and you're going to walk your knees a little closer to each other. I want you to push into the soles of your feet, and then you're going to hover and lift your hips off the mat, almost like a butterfly bridge in a sense. Keep pushing your feet into each other. You should feel your glutes working to hold yourself up, your legs holding you up. 3 more breaths. And melt your hips back to the floor, and then just release your legs wide. Let's find that one more time. Draw your knees towards each other. Push the soles of your feet into each other. Lift and hover your hips. Deepen your breath. And lower yourself back down, and then just allow your legs to open to a comfortable place. Sometimes it's just not comfortable in this position. You feel a lot of pulling in your hips. You can take blocks under your legs or just maybe hold them a little bit. 2 more breaths. Let's draw our knees back to each other. Hug your right knee to your chest. Reach your left leg long. Great pose for our digestion. Often you may have heard it called wind releasing pose. Give yourself 2 more breaths. And then taking your left hand to your right knee, right arm shoulder height, coming back to that supine twist, rolling right leg over left, tap your toes. So the first 20-minute class, we moved into wind release, supine twist. So keeping that toe on the floor. This right shoulder may come off, so I would rather have you allow gravity to release the shoulder to the floor and keep your toe on the floor, your big toe of your right foot on the floor, to support the low back. Deepen your breath. And I want you to try to breathe in and out through your nose. toxins that come in through our body. Our mouth doesn't do that, just the nose, so it's important to breathe in through our nose and come back to center. Hugging left knee to your chest, releasing right leg to the floor. Now take right hand to left knee, left arm shoulder height. Supine twist, rolling left leg over the right. And slowly make your way back. Hug both knees to your chest, rock side to side. Hands behind your thighs, happy baby. Soles of your feet look up at the ceiling. Pull your knees towards your shoulders. Pull the shoulder blades into the floor. So if this is comfortable and you want to hold here, stay here. If you're not able to swallow here, then I want you to lift the legs closer to the ceiling. If you can swallow comfortably, then bring your arms inside your knees and grab hold of the pinky toe side of your foot. Deepen your breath. So maybe you stay and hold this pose. Maybe you want to rock side to side. Two more deep breaths. And let's take our left leg all the way to the floor, holding the right leg for our single leg happy baby. So maybe you hold here, maybe you straighten the right leg. Maybe you bend the right leg and straighten the right leg. So 3 options: holding in half happy baby, bending and straightening the right leg, or just holding the leg straight. Getting a little deeper into your right inner thigh. So just do what feels good. Maybe try all 3 options. Come back to a full happy baby. And then release the right leg to the floor for half happy baby. Hold half happy baby, or straighten out left leg. Maybe you bend and straighten the left leg. Two more breaths. And then let's hug both knees to our chest, rock side to side. My thoracic spine, my upper back is flat, so I have a difficult time holding myself up straight. So it's super important for me to strengthen my back, to hold myself up, and my transverse abdominis. So when I'm doing this, I feel a lot of crunching, but my back is at its best when the crunching goes away. So maybe if you feel some crunching, that's okay. It's just kind of, it's a nice release. And let's drop your left foot to the floor, cross right ankle over your left thigh for a 4-figure stretch. So maybe this is where you're at today. Maybe you want to lift your left leg up off the mat. Maybe you want to grab hold of the left leg with a strap or your hands. Flex both feet so that you can support your joints. Maybe you want to rock side to side. Or maybe just hold steady. Drop your left foot to the floor and the right foot to the floor. And then cross left ankle over your right thigh. Hold here. Lift the right leg. Hold there. Or grab behind your right thigh with your hands or maybe a strap. And then rock side to side.